All right, a little bit different video than we've probably ever done before, but felt compelled to do this. I certainly am not going to read any advertisements. I try to take all the ads off the screen that we typically have and kind of just share some thoughts. Obviously, today at FSU, a tragic, senseless, just horrific event that we'll discuss a little bit of an impact on FSU athletics, though that's not really our focus today. We'll talk about that in a moment. What we know that at 12:02, an alert went out from FSU that there was an active shooter in the area of the FSU Student Union. Students and those on campus had to shelter in place from what I'm told up to 2 hours in some areas that I've seen. And speaking with some people that were on campus at the time, really a scary situation. Couldn't imagine having to be on campus while that happens. This is obviously not the first event that Florida State has had like this in the last decade or so, just outside of 10 years. We know about what happened there. Uploaded a short video just to kind of warn people and try and use our platform that we do primarily use for sports and tell people to shelter in place, listen to local authorities, all those things. And so really just felt it appropriate to try and share some thoughts and maybe some finality to that earlier short that we did. Again, not running any ads on this. In fact, I'm going to try and turn YouTube monetization off. Sometimes they still turn it back on because they want to make money for it. So just click through any ads that you do happen to see. Unfortunately, what we do know now is that 2 people have passed, neither FSU students, though still obviously part of the FSU community. At this time, I'm not sure if they're faculty, staff, or just people that happen to be on campus. There are always people on campus at FSU that are not working there or not students. In fact, I don't want to minimize from what's happened at all, the 2 that have passed or the 5 injured. But to give you an example, my mom and sister and niece, who is 4 years old, were just on campus on Tuesday, literally 48 hours before this happened. And, they're fine. They're back home here in Central Florida now. But they were just there. And so there are always people on campus. They were in town for kind of an early childhood education thing at the Capitol. And they took pictures near Renegade and all those other things. So try to put it into perspective that you don't necessarily have to be a student to potentially be impacted by this, or a faculty or a staff. There are a lot of people on campus. Shoot, I'm on campus probably 7 to 10 times a year as well, and clearly not a student or faculty. 2 have passed. I've seen reports between 5 and 6 injured. The shooter was taken alive and is in custody at the hospital. Interesting fact, or kind of a wild fact, he is the son of a Leon County Sheriff's Office deputy. Sounds like he got access to one of her weapons. I don't want to give him any more attention. We won't say names on here because I don't believe in giving publicity to that. But it does feel eerily similar to, and obviously different situations, but eerily similar to what happened in 2014 at the Stroger Library. Again, that happened right before a big football game, right before the Boston College game. Now, fortunately, I believe there were just 3 injured in that event. No one killed other than the shooter himself. But I do believe that you've got a little bit different situation here where Florida State went ahead and played that BC game. I was at that BC game, and actually my wife's cousin was at another building very close to Stroger right before or while that was happening. And so there is a personal impact for people that are around it, right? We think about the people who lost their lives or the people who were injured or whatever, right? Their families. There's an impact of just being close to something like this happening and how terrifying that truly is. I've seen stories on social media already of people who were supposed to be up at the student union or were going to study or they didn't end up going, and how thankful they are. But a little bit different this time with people unfortunately losing their lives and certainly more people being physically impacted by this senseless act. Through all of the tough things, I do think there are things to be thankful for, right? I think that it's incredible that Florida State's alert system, which most universities have, nearly every university has, I still get them from Beat Up at Liberty, that law enforcement responded so quickly. And thankfully, in this day of social media, we get alerts and things like this at rapid fire. We know about things as quickly as you can even blink we know about them. And I think that social media advancement, that technology, it really helps. It really helps us kind of know exactly what's happening. It helps law enforcement know exactly where to pinpoint something and how to respond to it. You think back to other horrific things like the Virginia Tech shooting, which was just the anniversary of that just happened. That took time for people to be located because it was kind of before a really heavy social media age that we have now. And so I am thankful that law enforcement was able to respond so quickly. I'm thankful that the alert system was set up and working properly, and that people were alerted to the danger and they could stay away from that area. I'm thankful that though we lost 2 precious lives, the death toll was lower, or at least is right now, as on Thursday, the death toll right now lower than we originally expected. There were some wildly irresponsible reports from, is it WFTV? I don't want to get that wrong, and so I will just check. Yeah, WFTV in Central Florida saying that there were 2 or 3 shooters and 34 injured and 5 or 6 dead. And fortunately, they've quietly walked some of that back. They have made corrections and deleted tweets. And I hate to call people out. And obviously, the main tragedy is the tragedy. But I am thankful that the death and injury toll is lower than what we thought, right? This goes from something that is absolutely horrific, and it doesn't make it any better that less people died, but certainly could have been much worse based on what we were being told by media outlets and news outlets. And, in our race to be first, it's one thing if you're, predicting a recruit's decision, right? And you ruin a recruit's moment, right? I wouldn't say we've never done that, but here on this channel, but you get things wrong, you predict things wrong, or you expect this kid to commit, or you do. It's one thing, man, when it's about recruiting. It's a completely other thing when you are adding to the mass panic and the mass hysteria by just reporting false information. And I'm sure they got it from good sources. I'm sure they got it from intel that they were getting at that time. But our race to be first in news and media, like you don't have to confirm death tolls. You don't have to confirm injury tolls. There's no rush to get that information out as quick as possible. And so I've seen Skip Foster on social media, continue to tag them and stuff, and even get blocked by their social media accounts because he is holding them accountable and calling them out for reckless, wildly irresponsible reporting. And so, though I'm not thrilled with the way that went down, I am thankful that the death and injury toll is lower than we expected. I think there is nothing good out of this, but it is good that less people were hurt, less people were killed than we at one time thought. And those, when you report misinformation, and again, when it's misinformation on a recruit that might commit or a depth chart move that you think might happen, I mean, that's one thing. When it is misinformation about people's lives, man, that is a completely different animal that you're dealing with. Now, obviously, there are some ramifications for this. Florida State athletic events have been canceled this weekend. Both softball and baseball had big series at home against ACC opponents that would have been really important, but obviously nothing in comparison to this. And so Florida State made the decision rather quickly to postpone tonight's baseball game on Thursday night. And then moments after that just said, hey, we're going to can all of the home athletic events. I've heard reports as well. I'm not as in tune with what's happening on campus. I've heard that campus is closed down until Monday as well. I don't know how true that is. I can't imagine they'll have school tomorrow. And then obviously you've got the Easter weekend coming up anyway, which hopefully the Easter weekend coming up had less people on campus. I don't know that, but hopefully the Easter weekend coming up had less people on campus than would have normally been. I have no way of knowing that. I haven't seen that, but I am hoping that that's the case. We've seen some recruiting visits canceled as well, so it sounds like football will step away for a couple of days as well. I don't really know what will happen there or with that, but it makes sense as active investigations are going on to not really have recruits on your campus. Such minor details. I'm certainly not complaining about the recruiting stuff or complaining about baseball or softball being canceled, just updating the information that we have. I think it was probably the right move to not hold those athletic events. Those are very much celebrations of things we love, sports. That's why we have this channel. We don't have this channel for breaking news or for non-sports related topics. But I do think that those are celebrations, and it would feel a little bit weird celebrating a walk-off win at one of those events when people just hundreds of yards away had lost their life. And so I think that's a good decision by Florida State. Maybe you have a little less to watch this weekend. Maybe you have to figure something else out, or maybe you just spend some time with your family for Easter, whether you celebrate Easter in a religious sense or not, whether you celebrate Passover or whatever your family or your beliefs do. Maybe spend a little time with your family. Hey, we have, I think, built a pretty cool community here on this channel. And again, wanted to avoid, ads or anything like that on this video. But I do think that we've built a pretty unique and pretty fun community on here where we can come on here and rant about football or rant about losses or come to you drunk in Dublin and mad about a loss to Georgia Tech. But then we kind of do try to take moments of seriousness and pause and talk about things that actually matter. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about Coach Almeida's diagnosis with breast cancer. We talked about Coach Wyckoff when she was going through that as well a couple of years ago. And I do think that this is a good time to sit and reflect about the things that we are thankful for, especially during a holiday week, a religious week for many people, both Easter and Passover, and think about the things that truly matter. And we love football, and we will continue to do football videos. And this video is unlike anything we've ever done before, but I thought it was important to do. And maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. I don't really care, but I do think that it's important for us to remember what really matters. I've seen people across all fan bases, some of our most hated rivals, Miami, Florida, I saw posts from Georgia Tech. I've seen stuff from all over the place. If there's one thing that unites people, it is tragedy. And that's unfortunate because I wish more united people. I wish that, we're always going to talk smack about our rivals and we're always going to want to beat this team or beat that team. But I do think that when bad things happen, unfortunately, that's what brings out, some of the best in people. And so, I'm not thankful this happened by any means, but I am thankful to see that response of that unity. And we all, for the most part, want what's right and what's best. And we all, for the most part, want good things for good people, right? We want things like this to be avoided. We all have different methods of how we think things should be done or how we think responses to things should happen. And I don't really care about any of that. That's not the purpose of this video. But I do think that it is good to see the unification that happens. I think that Florida State will come back from this. They will certainly move on from this. There will be very touching memorials. You'll learn more about the victims, and it'll be stuff that probably tears you up and makes you kind of pause and think about how trivial a lot of the stuff that we argue and rant about is. But again, shared a short earlier, just trying to warn people and use our platform for good. And I thought this was a continuation of that. So wanted to share my thoughts. Our prayers and our thoughts are with the victims, those impacted, those that are emotionally scarred. We think about the victims, those are injured. We always hear those tolls, right? The death toll was this, the injury toll was this. There are emotional scars that will last from this for a long, long time. I'm thankful that more people than less were safe. And we certainly think about the victims and their families, those that will be impacted by this forever. We do really well in the Tallahassee area. That's where we get most of our listeners. I know that people listen from all over, but we do really well in the Tallahassee area. My DMs are always open. If anyone watching this, hearing this, needs something, you can always email me. It's tj@doublefriesnoslaw.com. You can always send me a message on X or Instagram or Facebook or whatever if you need anything. Now, I doubt anybody does want to talk to me about this, but I'm just letting you know that I am open for that. I know we have college kids that watch this, and we have students, and we have faculty and staff that watch these videos, and I don't know what I can offer. I don't know what I can provide. Maybe it's a free gut box or something. I don't know. But if you need anything, you're always welcome to reach out. And I do want to make that the way that we close this. So, hey, I always appreciate you guys for watching and listening. Again, very different video than we've ever done before and probably and hopefully ever have to do again. But thought that it was the right thing to do, to share some thoughts, try and put some things into perspective. And again, we'll get back to better days ahead. More fun things ahead. Again, holiday weekend. Hopefully you enjoy that with your family. We'll be back on Sunday for our regular live show, I'm sure, at some point. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching. And again, our prayers and thoughts are with those impacted.